Hello, and welcome to episode 118 of Ready to Mosh. I'm Kev P, and alongside me is the Kerry to my Dave. It's Gem G.
Carry some of Dave. Oh, topical.
Mm, very topical. Not for today's episode, but topical as we record this.
Yeah, I guess.
So this week we've got Nachtghul from Devastator, and Devastator, a band we've wanted to get on for a while. We've seen them 3 times now.
We have, yeah. We first came across them in 2022 before they played Mangata Festival and really liked them before that after listening to them, and then saw them live there. And then we saw them at Bloodstock and last year at Derby Alt Fest.
Yeah. We talk about the band's history, what they've been up to over the last few years, and their new album, Conjurers of Cruelty, which is out on the 1st of March. So this week we've got a very special guest. We have Nachtghul from Devastator. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you for asking me to come on.
No problem at all. We're big fans. We've seen you guys a few times. And the important kind of first question, how did Devastator begin?
Devastator was a drunken side project. This really very much the honest way to call it. The first three of us were in other bands and doing other things, and we've been friends for a while. So originally it was the lead guitarist Ara Munn and the drummer Jay Scarlett. They were doing this. They had this idea to do this sort of almost American style thrash band. They wanted to do kind of a Testament sort of thing, and I was asked to come in and play bass just for fun. And I went, yeah, cool. We had a singer for a bit. He didn't stick around very long. And the rehearsals in inverted commas were us just playing Sodom songs and drinking an excessive amount for 2 hours a random evening in the week or on the weekend. And it wasn't until our original bands folded that we decided, well, we've got the time now, so we can take this a little bit more serious. So we started writing very quickly. Given the fact that my previous band had disbanded due to distance issues with all of the members, I had a sudden burst of creativity. So I was able to just start writing very quickly. And then before you know it, we had everything that wound up on that first demo. And we played our first gig, which, interestingly enough, we played that as a 3-piece. But CW, who became the rhythm guitar player, he had joined the band already, literally the week of that show. But there wasn't enough time to teach him everything, so we said, "Come to the show, and you can see what you've agreed to do." And
he was fine with that.
Yeah, and he was happy with that. And then since then, it's been the same 4 members. And I guess they say the rest is history. Yeah, that's it. There's no mysterious story. It is a bunch of guys who just really like to drink beer and listen to Sodom and play Sodom covers relatively badly. And I think, as you can assume, how things went on, we never became that Testament band because we weren't that good.
So aside from Sodom then, who's kind of been your main influences on the band's sound?
It's something quite well documented at this point. I mean, we're not shy at wearing our influences on our sleeve. It's very much the early Venom, early Bathory, Motorhead, of course. And as we've said, the Teutonic stuff, the Sodom we've gone over, but also early Creator and Destruction as well. A lot of the darker side of thrash metal, and that, I guess, that first wave of black metal is very much the key influences. There are other things that creep in there as well that might not be as obvious, like Van Halen and a lot of the guitar work, a lot of the lead work. But in terms of the core sound of it, you can definitely sit there and put on one of our records and go like, well, the blatantly Venom fans, or German thrash bands, fans of German thrash bands. Sorry. So yeah, I would say that the core sound comes from the German bands and the first wave of black metal, the Venom, the Bathory, the Hellhammer, Bulldozer, etc.
So you were talking about the this creative blast that you had.
Mm.
How do you kind of go about writing a Devastator song? Do you have to kind of get the riffs down first? Do you have you got in mind what you want to do with the lyrics?
Yeah. So from my perspective, because we don't write as a conventional band does. We all write individually, and often enough we will have a full song relatively finished, like at least the skeleton, and we'll then present it and do it in rehearsals, and then that's when it starts to change. From my point, I tend to start with a riff because I write everything that I write on guitar. I always start there, and then I feel a riff that I like, which will normally either be a verse riff or sort of a main reoccurring riff, and then I'll go from there. And normally it's just a puzzle of finding out what fits where and what pace it's going to be at, how I imagine the drums would go. And before you know it, I get a full-fledged demo done. And really, the vocals are the very, very, very last thing I consider. I more have an idea about how the vocals are going to be sang as I'm writing the riff, but no lyrical content or anything. In terms of lyrics, I start with a title, and then I write around the title. And normally, the title is inspired by a subject anyway that I can research, or something that comes straight out of my own head. So, yeah, I like it. It mostly comes from just a riff, and then it starts to develop from there, and you kind of get a bit of a light bulb moment when things start to fall in place and things start to sort of connect in the way that they do. And that's at least from my perspective. I'm not sure how the cogs work for the other guys when they write on their own, but it all comes to the same way. When it comes into the rehearsal room, we go through it and we say, well, we could cut that bit a little bit or extend that part there, and that'd be cool. Maybe we change the key from A to E or whichever, and see how that works. Make that a slower bit instead of a fast bit, and eventually we get to a point where everyone's like, yeah, that's working. We're feeling that, as opposed to now it's not working. But a lot of it starts individually from home.
And you've got some really cool artwork in both your music and the merch. Is that something that's done within the band?
The artwork isn't. The artwork's often purchased there's only very few artworks that have actually been requested by us to be made. A lot of it is us finding the art pre-made already and then asking the artist if it's for sale. There just tends to be a certain style that we've gravitated to, which is, I guess, this very scratchy, sort of worn 80s sort of look, which we've adopted. And knowing that these artists that we work with have similar but not the exact same style, we know that when we see something we like, we know it will pair up with all the other things that we've done. In terms of how it winds up being presented, that is something that is in-house. I do a lot of the layouts and the things for the albums. The layouts were me. And we've kind of, it's been mentioned already. I spoke to Sweden Rock Magazine the beginning of this month or the end of last month on this little press junket that we're doing, and they mentioned it as well. They said that there's a kind of consistency in the way things look at the moment, and we're glad that it's being noticed, because we're trying to get that sort of, you see something, you go, oh, that looks like Devastator. It's not just when you listen to the music, you go, that sounds like Devastator. We kind of want to create the full package in a way, and I feel like we're definitely onto something with the way that we present ourselves and the way everything's sort of meticulously looked at and thought through. Because I think that's important as well. Like a band can be fantastic musically and they could put out a great album, but at the same time, I'm very much someone who, when he goes and looks at records in the shop and everything, and if it's something I've not heard of, if it's got not necessarily good artwork or striking artwork or something that kind of makes me click, I probably wouldn't just buy it. I would probably maybe consider it, go listen to it later, and I'll be like, oh, that's such a shame because it's such great music, but the artwork's not that good. I feel like bands need to make more of an effort to kind of be a full package in a way, not just be musically fantastic, but also visually as well. So I think we try to do our best with that. So yeah, it's not something that's in house fully, but it's very much under our control, and it is a plan. It is a planned thing. So we do pick who we work with art wise quite meticulously, but the core 3 or 4 artists that we work with are great, and they're fantastic, and we'll continue to work with them as well, because it's just, we think it's just a great winning combination with our music.
So the second time we watched you guys, it was on the New Blood stage at Bloodstock on the hottest day of the year.
Yeah.
In that tent. How was it for you?
Incredible. It's still, it's still one of those things. We're 2024 now, and that happened in 2022. So we're coming up to 2 years on, and we still can't believe it, and the circumstances of how it came around as well is, it was a great performance. It was one of our favorites. The heat wasn't too much of an issue as we were playing. Like we honestly thought it was going to be, but once the adrenaline kicks in and everything else, and you sweat off the majority of the blood and the black makeup and the corpse paint and everything off, you kind of forget how hot it is up there, even though you look like you're working. And we felt the audience was working just as hard as we were. But it was a great performance. It was fantastic. I mean, the moment we came off the stage is when we realized how hot it was, and we were kind of just trying not to fall over, but also in absolute just happiness, I guess, over the reaction we received and how many people were there watching us, especially considering the fact that we were clashing with Violence, which, as far as I understand, was their first UK show in 20 years. So, the fact that we still had a very strong audience, a full tent, was incredible. It's a moment we'll never forget, and we really do want to go back to Bloodstock and play again, but we think we want to move up to the next stage of the Sophie Lancaster tent and give that a thrashing. If the opportunity comes forward, we'll definitely go back. We're hoping, for open air opportunities to come through, either maybe some last minute ones this year or most certainly next year.
Did you find that playing Bloodstock opened other doors for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was very funny how that came around. Anyway, we as a band, we had been very much like, we don't need management or booking agents. We're very arrogant. We're like, well, we're doing good. And then an opportunity came to work with AV from Abduction, is the man behind that project. He took up some managerial roles and booking agent roles very briefly, and we were his first pick. So we went, okay, well, we trust him, and he has a wealth of knowledge anyway. So we went, okay, cool, let's do it then. Let's fine. We'll bite our tongues and we'll go through it. And the first thing he got for us was Bloodstock. As a booking.
That's a hell of a first pick. Yeah.
And then his second booking he got for us was with Exciter at the Underworld, and we were like, right, we think we've done all right there. So immediately from doing the Bloodstock thing and the Exciter thing as well, it opened many doors and exposed us to a wider audience, and ultimately there are other people in that audience as well that ran their own things, and opportunity started to come forward. So yeah, absolutely, the Bloodstock performance gave us great opportunities, and the Exciter performance gave us even more. I mean, we had members of Carcass in the room. There was our good friend now, the Demolition Man, Tony Dolan from Venom. He was present. There was ex-members of Destroyer 666 there. It was a who's who of people in that room. It was quite the day. So yeah, like we think we're very thankful for everything that everyone who's worked with us has done, and Amy from Abduction is one of them. Absolutely. I don't think we'd be where we are today without his guidance that he gave us during the brief time we were working together in that sort of professional capacity. So we're very thankful for it. So yeah, absolutely.
And you re-released your debut album, Baptized in Blasphemy, last year. What was the reason for doing that?
So the idea came from Listenable, who we signed the deal with at the in, I guess it would have been early last year. We they came to us with after the discussions for the offer had come through and everything, and said that they didn't just want the new album, they wanted the first album as well, and they wanted to reissue it. And we thought, well, this is a fantastic opportunity to get the record back out there again in circulation, because with its limited release through our previous label, Clobber, only 100 vinyl was pressed, and it was only available on the limited CD run, and the tapes sold out before the album even came out. So, you know, there have been a lot of people asking for vinyl copies of our first record, and we thought this was a great opportunity to get it into circulation. At the time, we were doing pre-production meetings with the man who became our producer on the new album, and he got wind that we were doing the reissue, and he practically begged us, please let me remaster it, please let me remix it. And we said, okay, let's see what we can do. So we contacted the original producer. We said, look, this is what we want to do, can you please give us the master files? And he said, yeah, sure, cool. So he sent all the master files over, and the remix and remaster was done in a week. We were sat with Ben in the studio. I think we sat with him twice and just said, in hindsight, because we had a lot of time to think about what we could have improved with the original sound, we were able to just list off a few things, and he had some ideas as well, and he had that remix and remaster done in a week. It was very, very quick. And we listened to it in the room, and we went, now that's in our minds how it should have sounded, because when we did the original album, it was just before COVID, so we were never present for the mixing and the mastering of the original release, because we couldn't be. And what we received was, I think, the second mix and master time around, and then that was it. It was done, and we were also out of budget as well. Like, so we were stuck with what we had, and at the time we were very proud of it. But, you know, in hindsight, you can sit there and go, well, I would have done this a little bit differently. And this was finally our opportunity to do that. So we think it turned out really well as well. And we're really happy that it's out in circulation. The people that were asking for the vinyl copy of it and the tape copy were able to get that. And obviously we put the bonus stuff on there as well, which was also Listenable's idea. We had that set recorded from the very, very raw recorded set from Bloodstock that we decided, well, okay, we were going to do something with this at some point. We just didn't know what. And then we thought, well, we'll put it out on this. And we, I think we created quite the definitive package for that album to kind of close the book on that era in a way. Like, it's, you know, it's, that era is done now, and here is the final thing we'll do for it. Minus these long sleeves that are taking forever to come out, but like, you know, I spoke to the people who are making them now. They're like, yeah, they should be done very soon. So I'm like, okay, right, well, that'll be the bookend time of it. Yeah, it really was to just sort of close that chapter and take us nicely into what would become Conjurers of Cruelty.
So we're going to move on to the quickfire round now.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a few questions. Just go with whatever comes into your mind.
Okay.
So, first question: what would be your bucket list venue to play in?
The original Hammersmith Odeon.
Oh, straight away, you knew straight away what the absolute ideal venue.
Yeah, if I could bring a venue back from the dead, it would be the original Hammersmith Odeon. Even though the album isn't recorded there, No Sleep Till Hammersmith is my pick for the greatest live album of all time. And it's an iconic venue. It wasn't just Motorhead's iconic venue; it was Venom's as well. 7 Dates of Hell, 1984 and 1985 filming live show. So yeah, it would be that one. Obviously, if we're going to go with one that's happening right now, Blackened Festival.
Great choice, yeah. Absolutely great choice.
Big stage, Blackened Festival.
What's your favourite pie?
Pie? Oh shit. Probably steak pie.
Do you have a hidden talent?
No. No, I wouldn't say I've got any hidden talents. I can talk a lot when someone asks me questions.
What are your favourite crisps?
Oh, fucking hell. Doritos, probably. Multiple flavours.
Which flavour?
Oh, give me all of them. It depends how I feel on the day.
What was the last band you watched live?
Ninka Sarg, because I just played with them. They were the last band that played in Manchester, so it was the last band I saw. They headlined.
What's your favourite smell?
That summer rain smell. Either where it's just before it's about to rain or it's just after in the summer. There's that smell. There's something very crisp about that.
What was the first album you owned?
It was a Motorhead tribute album. I think not a tribute album, a compilation. It was a red snaggletooth, and it just said the best of Motorhead. I don't think it was an official one, but that was the first one that I bought with my own money.
And final quickfire one then is: where has been the best crowd you've played to?
It's hard to pinpoint one. I mean, obviously, I think I should say Bloodstock, even though that might be the obvious one. But Glasgow still comes into my head because for whatever reason we played. Every time we play Glasgow, they have been fantastic. Particularly the crowd at the Flying Duck with Hellripper. That also turned out to be Hellripper's launch show for Warlock's Grim, and that audience was relentless. And we were marred with technical issues during that gig, but they did not give one solitary shit. They loved it, and they were jumping off everything they could climb up on. So I would say a Glasgow crowd or the Bloodstock crowd, they're kind of neck and neck. I think like in terms of size and grand kind of vibes, the Bloodstock crowd, but in terms of sheer violence and chaos, the Glasgow crowd.
Talking about the new album then, Conjurers of Cruelty is out on the 1st.
Yes.
How long has it really been kind of like in the making?
Pretty much from the moment Baptized in Blasphemy was out.
Wow, so absolutely straight into it.
Yeah, given the nature that Baptized came out in COVID, we weren't able to do a lot with it. We really couldn't. We couldn't do anything. It was an unfortunate circumstance where we weren't able to go out and play shows. We weren't able to do any performances for at least a year, I think, after it came out. And even though we didn't rush to record the follow-up album, we very much started writing from the get-go. I mean, some of these songs that are on the album, like the last song, for example, the last song, the closer is a very old song. We played that live back in 2018, and it wound up getting shelved because we didn't think it was ready. The title track is very old. I think the title track is from 2020. There's a lot of songs on that album that have been started their early days. Sorry, in 2020 or near enough, just after the first album came out back in July of that year. So yeah, it's been a long time coming, and it's something we've been talking about at every show, and it got to a point where it was almost like a meme that Devastator are going to play a new song and they'll say that the album's coming, and it'll be another year and they'll come back again and they'll say the album's coming, and it did, and it gives me great pleasure to say that on stage now, and I'll be like, it's actually happening, it's here, it's out. So yeah, it's been a long time creatively. We're extremely sort of relieved and happy that it's finally come together and it's finally becoming this actual thing. So yeah, it's been a while, but it's worth it.
And you debuted the album in the show in Manchester last Saturday. How did that go down?
Excellent, absolutely superb. The reaction that we got to music that largely had been heard. At the point of the Manchester show, there were 2 tracks out: the Ritual Abuse and Black Witchery, and the reactions to the songs that people hadn't heard were extremely positive. We, by some miracle of international postage, we had copies of the new album with us, which wasn't intended. They just happened to turn up at the right time, so we thought, well, we might as well take a few and see if they go, and they went. They were gone. Wow. So we have to put another order in now for for the label when the touring rolls up, which is very soon. So the reaction was fantastic. We obviously, like every other band on that bill, we're all playing new material. That was some of them that was unheard, like Abduction played their new album, which doesn't even have a title out yet, let alone a release or anything. Like, they just went and played a whole set of songs that no one knew, don't know any song titles for, didn't know anything. The reaction was fantastic. You couldn't have asked for a better show, really. And we really think as well that's created even more hype for this new album amongst people that maybe didn't know us, who definitely do know us now, and are all joining in with this sort of exciting atmosphere and this very much ready. Everything's ready to blow off, and it's very close. It's very close. It was a great show.
And the album itself has received a lot of positive reviews so far, across a lot of outlets. And has this kind of exceeded your expectation, or did you have that kind of confidence that was always going to be on the cards?
Yeah, I mean, you have some level of confidence, like you believe in what you've done, otherwise it wouldn't come out. I think it has to be remembered that any artist worth his salt is doing it for himself. Like, they're writing these songs for themselves, and if anyone else likes it, it's a bonus. And that's something that Lemmy said, and it still rings very true with me, because we wouldn't put it out if we weren't confident it was going to be good, and we didn't think it was the best that it could possibly be at the time. So in a way, it was expected that, okay, well, this hopefully is going to do well. And then obviously when the press started going, like, it's great, it's fantastic, that was even better. I mean, it's gotten so much positive press attention from areas that I didn't even know that it was getting heard at, like Sweden Rock, and as I understand, Metal Hammer has it as well. So I'm looking forward to reading that review in the next issue. That's a little sort of bucket list moment for me. As a teenager, I would buy Metal Hammer, and I would staunchly stay away from Kerrang because it's the Poser magazine, and we only buy Metal Hammer. Silly things that teenagers do. But yeah, I'm excited for that one. It's been very humbling, because it makes us feel like, okay, we're definitely onto something, and the time and the effort that we put into this creativity, and we've bared ourselves quite a bit on this material, trying things that we think, okay, well, this could either go really well, or people will be like, oh, well, I liked the black and roll thing they did on the first album and the punk thing they did on the first album. And we're glad that this slight deviation from the original sound has been accepted so positively, not just from people who are used to us, but also from the press as well. So it's great. Was it expected? I mean, it's to some level we expected some press, whether it be good or bad, but it's great to read, and it's makes us feel like we're doing something cool. And maybe I'm not prepared for a negative review, but we'll see. It wouldn't be the first time I've read one where someone's gone, I don't get it. You can't always please everyone, but yeah, I'm happy with the response, and I'm looking forward to taking it out on the road.
And we read that you filmed the kind of behind the scenes process while you were making the album. When and how will that be released?
It'll come out on YouTube, so we're not gonna make anyone pay to see it. But we worked closely with a company that's run by a friend of ours called Adaptive Media, and it was an idea that our lead guitarist had. He said, let's bring in our friend Craig to do a lot of the filming, and there's been a handful of little tiny clips that wound up on Instagram somewhere, that wound up inside the reels and the TikTok things and stuff like that, of us listening to the final mix and all that. We've already established music over the top of it, so you guys couldn't hear what it was at the time. It will come out. We still actually got a bit to film. We've still got the post album release interview sections and the talking bits, and then any narration that has to go over the top. So there's still some stuff to do. In terms of when it'll be out to watch, I don't know when that is, because I don't really have much of a hand in it. It's between our lead guitarist and Adaptive Media. But as far as I understand, it's going to be this quite, over an hour long sort of documentary style thing, where you go from the very beginning of the process in March 2023, when we first entered the God Hand studio to do the Lyre and Wait and Death Forever singles, which then wound up being re-recorded for the CD version of the new album. And that takes you all the way up to the stuff we haven't done yet, like the interviews and the talking, and being all asked the same questions and us giving 4 different answers. Yeah, I can't really tell you when it's coming out yet. Maybe when someone's listening to this podcast, it's already out and they're like, hey, it was good, it was worth the wait. But it will come out. There's going to be a lot of interesting things in there about how things came together, and a lot of stupidity as well. I know there's a lot of footage Craig couldn't use because just some things that were done and said, and it's just like, we can't put that on the internet. It's terrible. But yeah, you'll get to see even like the recording, the vocal recording. There's a lot of that stuff as well. I've seen that footage with the guests in, and there's a fantastic spot in there. This won't be spoiling much, but there's a fantastic spot in there where AV from Abduction, who's on the new album, doing guest vocals on a song called Death Spell Declaration. He broke the studio.
He broke the studio.
There was these in the booth, in the vocal booth. There's these these kind of like silencing panels on the wall, and they were housed in wood, in like these boxes, and then they were hung onto the wall. And at that point, Devastator had already devastated 4 of these panels just by leaning on them. So AV from Abduction, we've got 2 cameras on him at this point, and we're watching him from the control room, feeding these cameras, and he's getting very into it, and he's holding onto these panels, and he's leaning into the microphone, screaming, and then before you know it, he goes to do it, and they just go, and they fall down. He just stops and just grabs them. He's like, Mark, he's just holding this panel. It was a fantastic moment. It was great. And then he he signed off that part and said he did it for the gram. It's good. We terrorized Ben, our producer. We terrorized him. But yeah, there's a little snippet of what you can expect to see. But yeah, it'll come out when it's ready. But I don't think it'll be too long. I mean, I don't think you're going to be getting it next year or anything. I definitely think it will come out at some point, maybe like the spring or the early summer at most. But there's only a little bit left to film.
And you're also making your European debut this year.
Yeah.
Starting with the Netherlands and then going to Germany. So is this kind of like the plan to expand the fan base? There's been a lot of attention from a lot of different countries now.
Yeah, I mean, it was always the plan. The next frontier was Europe, and that is the next step. We go over to the Netherlands in April, which will be our first time performing on the continent. Like I kind of feel like every band has these sort of bucket lists that they work up to. They start, they go, I want to play a gig, I want to play a local gig. Okay, I played a local gig. I want to go play in the next town over. Okay, I'll play the next town over. Okay, I want to play in London. I want to play in the capital. Okay, yeah, we played in London. Where haven't we played? Where's the furthest we could play? Oh, let's go play in Scotland. Let's go play in Scotland. And we've done that cycle now, and we've continued to do it as much as we can, because there's still areas in England that we haven't been to. We've not been very down south. We haven't been down to Brighton. We haven't even been over to Ireland on the doorstep. So, there's still other ground for us to get. But we've done the UK cycle in a way over the years, and we're up to 7 years at this band now. We're closer. Look at it this way: we're closer to 10 years than we are closer to 2 years. So, with a second record, getting a foot in the door in Europe was the plan, and we managed to get that on an incredible bill with Midnight and Gamma Bomb and Bewitcher, and a lot more. So we're really proud to be on that bill with these great bands. Midnight being old gigging friends of ours now, and friends as a result of just those few short days in the UK, and they're those three guys who play under the banner are fantastic. They're great. So, we're looking forward to that. Obviously, we've got Mannheim as a German exclusive. We're really, really looking forward to that. And again, we didn't know at the time we booked it, but we're playing with friends in Slaughter Messiah, who we played with in Nottingham. They were great. We instantly kicked it off with them. So it's going to be fantastic. And then recently we got asked, do you want to come and play with Paradise Lost? We were like, yeah, come on then. So yeah, we'll go back over to the Netherlands and do Into the Grave, opening up the main stage that Paradise Lost are going to headline, and Whiplash, and the night before has got Hell Ripper and Butcher and Slaughter to Prevail. Like it's a pretty big bill, that, and we're very happy to be doing it on our first year of going to Europe. I've just been in discussions today about other European things happening, so there will be more European stuff this year. So yeah, that's going to be it's going to be a fun year, and I'm really looking forward to trying these new things. I've personally never played over in Europe before, so that's a bucket list thing for me. But the next big thing after we've done the European cyclists a couple of times, is getting us over across the Atlantic. Fingers crossed we get that opportunity.
And final question then, have you got any more plans to play the UK this year?
Yes. Yeah, I think I can say when, but I just can't say where. I think we are doing UK headline dates in May. I haven't got all the details yet, so I don't want to say more than I can. But there's going to be a UK tour in May. I think following the German date, we'll go straight into the UK run, and I think that's supposed to culminate at Incineration Festival, which we've been announced for. So I think that's the idea. If it turns out not to be, and this is already out, I'm sorry. But yeah, there are more UK dates coming. Obviously, a lot of the big focus this year is in Europe, and trying to get us over there as much as possible. But this is where we this is where we make our bread and butter. Really, is at home. So, there definitely will be more UK stuff coming up this year. But I know that there is a string of dates happening in May. So look out for those. Depending on when this comes out,
Nachtghul, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been great chatting with you. Good luck with the album. Hope it all goes well in Europe, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So we hope you enjoyed listening to our chat with Nachtghul. As we've already mentioned, Devastator's new album, Conjurers of Cruelty, is out on the 1st of March, so make sure you go check that out when it's released, and keep an eye out on their socials for when those UK dates are announced. And if you want to keep an eye on our socials, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at Ready to Moshcast, and YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok at Ready to Mosh. And if you enjoyed what you're listening to, please give us a 5-star rating. A nice review on wherever you cast your pods would be very much welcomed. And we'll be back again soon with another episode. Make it Mosh Moog.